In Russian roulette, you have a 1 in 6 chance of dying, but in Korean roulette, you have a 5 in 6 chance of dying. Gi-hun may want to bring the games to a halt, but unfortunately for him, the games are only just beginning. Welcome back, guys, to Fog Entertainment. We're here with a brand new Squid Game Season 2, Episode 1 review. This one was called Bread and Lottery, and that's exactly what a lot of poor, homeless people, aka bums, had to choose between in this episode. We had the salesman, we had the recruiter, Gong Yu. He was back, and more evil than ever, more sinister than ever. In the first season, he felt like a happy-go-lucky kind of guy that was nice and offering people a chance to play for money. In Season 2, he just seemed like he had a big stick up his ass. I don't know, like he'd done a month spree of cocaine or something. He felt off his game. He felt like he was a complete madman. And we seen him ultimately meet his demise at the end of this episode, but not before taking down the top man.
It was a long 3 years to wait for Squid Game Season 2. Was it worth the wait? Well, we're going to bring that review to you. 4, 5, 6, the salesman, the rest of them. And they're being labelled as that because, to be honest, guys, I'm not really that good with names, especially when it comes to Squid Game. It's been 3 years, alright? I have got dementia. I cannot remember them. I simply remember numbers before names. So 4, 5, 6, he's in the memory bank. The salesman is also in the memory bank. And the rest of them, well, they're at the back of the bank. But I tell you what, 4, 5, 6, he has got a sofa to die for. Not because it's memory foam, because it's padded with one, and plenty of it.
Yeah, well, you need plenty of one to have a good amount, and he's certainly got it. I mean, you walk in here and it's like Fort Knox. It's the Fort Knox of Wong. And he's got like
the Fort Knox of Wong. Damn it!
You know, I mean, he's got like a full bedroom of one. It's probably about worth $10 American dollars, but I mean,
it's worth less than the fucking bed.
I mean, it is what it is. This episode basically featured around, obviously, our two main characters, Gi-hun and Jun-ho. Obviously, they escaped last time from the island. Gi-hun escaped as a winner, and Jun-ho escaped as a victim, really. He was shot by his own brother. Yes, In-ho shoots his brother, left him for dead. Turns out, though, he didn't die. So we see him wake up in a hospital with his mother. He got rescued by some guy on the coast. Some good Samaritan came, chucked him in a boat. So we've got our two main protagonists. They're both safe. They're both ready. But more importantly, they both want to get back on the island, and they both want to stop the games. And we see that by the end of this episode, looks like our two main characters are about to meet. And if they team up, I think they can take down the game, because you've got the intelligence, you've got the abilities of Jun-ho, and then you've got that just sheer commitment for Gi-hun to just never give up, never die, and get to the end. So I think these two can make a good team.
Yeah, they are going to make a good team, and they're adding numbers also throughout this episode and the next few episodes. It's exactly what they need to do, alright? Well, I mean, let's be honest, man, a two-man team, two-man power trip, you're going up against an island littered with bodies, littered with manpower. So they need to add more numbers. You can have as much brains as you want, but more often than not, those brains are going to get spilled on the sidewalk if you're outnumbered.
That's probably what's going to happen. So we see Gi-hun, he's about to board his plane like he did last season, but he does a 180 and he's like, nah, I'm not leaving. I'm not a horse that you can bet on. And he tells the game master he's going to find him, he's going to track him down, he's going to put an end to these games. And then we see him cut a tracker out of his ear. So it looks like everybody that entered the games was installed with some sort of tracking device. Now, Gi-hun cuts his out. I guess that's the only relevant tracker left because everyone else is dead, so he's the only guy being tracked. Now, why would they be tracking you? Is it in case you escape, or do they just want to keep an eye on the winners? Do they want to know where the winners go, what the winners are up to? And what do you think the reason is for the tracker? Do you think it's for the actual games themselves, or do you think it's for after the games? Because they would have the opportunity to remove this tracker after the game if it was just a in-game.
Yeah, I don't know. You see, with Hell's Kitchen, they do like a season of All Stars. Maybe Squid Game, we're planning a season of All Winners. No?
And they need a tracker for that?
Keep a track of where they're all going, aye. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it made for a pretty good scene where he whips out the razor blade and just cut it out his ear, and the kid walks in. He's like, 5 minutes, boy.
Yeah, so we see that. He cuts out his tracker. Jun-ho, he gets washed up. He's in a hospital bed. His mother's obviously grateful to see that he's alive. Then we see them both go on their separate ways to try and track down the island. Jun-ho goes out on the coast, on the boat, with the man that rescued him, looking for the island. They travel, they track down all these islands, but they can't find the right one. And we have Gi-hun, and he has recruited the loan sharks from season 1. The guys that owed him money, he's paid them off, he's squared all his debts, and he's getting these guys, and they've got numbers, they've got quite a lot of numbers, and he's got them posted in the train station, and he's looking for the salesman, he's looking for the recruiter, because he believes that's his best way of getting back into the game. So they've got like 20 loan sharks at all times, tracking all the different stations, but they've been doing this for a long time, and they have not came across this guy yet. Gi-hun is doubling up the money. He's like, right, come on, we need to find this guy. The first person they find him, he offers $500 million. So at this point, the loan sharks, they're ready. They're more determined than ever. Money talks.
No, money does talk, and they're just looking for a guy in a suit with a briefcase. He's 6 foot tall, which puts him above the average Korean, dare I say. And then he's playing that wee game of Deche, where he's throwing the red and blue squares on the floor with an unlucky player at the end of the day, and a big slap across the face if you lose. And we've seen it late on. We fought nightfall, sunrise. They were at every bloody train station in Seoul, and they thought, right, we're never going to get anything here. But then they catch him at the end of the night playing it.
Yeah, they do catch him. We have one of the loan sharks, Woo Siak, and his, I believe, the captain of the loan sharks, leader.
My wedding.
The leader of the loan sharks, Captain, is it Captain Park? Not too sure his name, but they both track down the recruiter. They follow him. Gi-hun is giving chase. He's trying to catch up, but the recruiter never stays in one place at the same time. He's constantly on the move, so it's kind of hard to keep a track of this guy. He walks into a park, offers a bunch of homeless people a lottery ticket or some bread. Pretty much everybody but one chooses a lottery ticket. One homeless guy, I guess, was hungry. He chose the bread. But none of the lottery tickets are winners. They're all losers. And then we get the recruiter. He just takes out all the remaining bread. He could have just gave them away, but he decides to ruin them all by jumping all over them, stomping over the bread like a pure madman at this point. Not quite sure what he was thinking. But then he's on the move again. He's getting chased by the two loan sharks. They decide, look, we can't wait on Gi-hun. Gi-hun's taking forever. And they decide that they're going to try and take down the recruiter themselves. It's 2-on-1, but little do they know the recruiter's actually pretty skillful, and he takes them down.
Yeah, he takes them down, pretty much leaves them without a trace.
Takes them down to Chinatown.
He does.
Or Koreatown in this case.
Yeah, Koreatown in this case, but then he takes them up to like this big room, and then he plays Russian roulette. We have, 4, 5, 6 hot on the trail, and a set of traffic cops led by Jun-ho pull him over, but conveniently it's no Jun-ho that goes to his windy.
Yeah, it's his little sidekick who did not have a name. He runs the documents, he runs the information on Gi-hun. Gi-hun's not interested because he needs to catch a salesman. He just gives his documents, then he speeds off, doesn't even communicate. The little cop takes it back. Jun-ho looks at the documents, he looks at the info, he looks at the driver's license, and he actually realises that this is indeed Gi-hun. And he remembers him from season 1, he remembers him from the Squid Games, and at this point he knows that he has to catch this man, because that could lead him back to his brother.
It could lead him back to his brother.
Could lead him back to the games as well.
He needs to get back to the games, and it makes you wonder, how many islands is there in South Korea?
Well, there's not an island up next, but there is a game, and it's the recruiter, the salesman. He's playing with both loan sharks. Now, these loan sharks are very close. They're like brothers. He forces them to play Russian roulette, and it is just, one bullet in a chamber. You spin the chamber, one shot, bang, spin the chamber again, one shot, bang. However, that's a 1 in 6 chance of dying, and nobody's dying. They're playing rock, paper, scissors. Doesn't seem to matter who wins, doesn't seem to matter who loses, because it's 1 in 6 chance of winning, so 1 in 6 chance of dying. So, you've got a good chance of surviving here. But he decides to change it, and he decides to up the ante a little bit, because it's getting a bit boring, in his own words. So he decides to put an extra 4 bullets into the chamber, and he reverses the odds. It goes from a 1 in 6 chance of dying to a 5 in 6 chance of dying. We then get one more round of rock, paper, scissors, and after a bunch of draws, Woo Seok produces 2 rocks, and at this point you could say he is in between a rock in a hard place because his boss, Mr. Kim, he's got one paper and he's got one scissor. All he has to do is remove the scissor, keep the paper hand out there, and he is guaranteed to win because paper beats rock. But in the end, after the countdown, Mr. Kim decides to remove neither of his hands, leading to a disqualification. The salesman then points the Russian roulette gun, the revolver, into his temple, pulls the trigger, and unfortunately, the 5 and 6 chances of dying are just too difficult to overcome. Mr. Kim dead.
Despite throwing 2 rocks, like, I mean, what you have to have at this point is the guy who's facing you, his arse folding and freezes. Now, obviously, I don't think Mr. Kim froze here. I think he actually just did it to help his younger friend slash,
he sacrificed
son-like figure out here.
He sacrificed himself.
Yeah,
essentially. That's what he done. He sacrificed himself. We then get Gi-hun. He arrives at the location. He spots the blood. He manages to track down the salesman. And then they get into another game of Russian roulette. The salesman basically accuses our character, our main man, Gi-hun, of getting lucky, and that's why he won the games. He thinks that there's nothing about him, and he just fluked his way, and that's how he was able to climb out of the dumpster. So he proposes another game of Russian roulette, but instead of a 1 in 6 chance, instead of the bullet being spun around and being changed every shot, he's going to keep it in there. So therefore, at the end of 6 clicks, you're guaranteed to get a shot, and that means that somebody will die. Somebody is going to go bye-bye after 6 bullets. So he spins the gun, lands on Gi-hun. Gi-hun takes his go first. We have 4 goes, 2 each, and it comes down to the final 2 chambers in the revolver. And both guys at this point are still alive. Salesman at this point tries to intimidate Gi-hun. He says, you could just pick up the gun, try and click it twice, shoot me, and take the coward's way out, but you're just proving that you were never good enough and that you just fluked the games and that you're not a man, you're just a dog, you're just trash. So Gi-hun doesn't accept this. He pulls the gun on himself, bang, but there's no bullet, and that means the last remaining bullet is in the final chamber. Gi-hun then plays the same mind games to the salesman, giving the salesman the option of just turning the gun and killing him, but that would mean that the salesman's lost essentially. So the salesman then, at this point, he doesn't care. He's already shot his own father in the game, so at this point he's like, what the fuck? He's a man of his word, picks up the revolver, shoots himself, bang, loses the game of Russian roulette. And you know what? It must suck when you go last, because all the other times you don't know if you're going to live or die, but this guy is literally knowing that this one click of the trigger's killing him.
Do you think his logic, though, was a bit flawed here when he turned around and said that Gi-hun was, the reason you won is because of luck? And then Gi-hun's way of proving this is by pulling the trigger in a lucky game of 50-50 where if it doesn't kill me, then you die. And it's like, is it not kind of just luck then? Yeah, he's showing...
Bottle, he's...
Yeah, he's showing bottle, but at the end of the day, it's luck.
It is, but I mean, he's offering him the easy way out, and Gi-hun doesn't take it.
I don't know why the salesman, though, completely went off the fucking edge here.
Yeah,
I've honestly, what was the tipping point of this episode? It was probably the one homeless guy trying to grab the bit of bread.
Yeah, I don't know if that's what sent him over the edge, but he just seemed to lose all composure, and his character completely changed, I think, in the second half of this episode. Just turned into a complete fucking madman. But you know what? I liked it, and it's just a shame that he didn't last a little bit longer. Should the salesman have lasted longer in season 2? I think so, but...
Well, obviously I don't think this is ever going to happen, but I would have liked to have seen him in the games.
Yeah, I think it would have been interesting, but Gi-hun now has access to his card, and that's essentially what the game was over. If Gi-hun won, he would get his card, and he would get a way back in to the island. So Gi-hun shoots the salesman's dead. That brings an end to the episode. There was also a scene where Gi-hun phoned his daughter in America, but still didn't have anything to say, and I think it's been like 3 years now since they last spoke. So at this point, for all she knows, her dad could be dead. And you know what? Her dad's lucky not to be dead.
Oh yeah, he's definitely lucky not to be dead, but I tell you what, we're lucky not to be dead after waiting 3 long years for this, so how did it deliver? I'm going to get an 8 out of 10. Thought it was pretty good.
We also have John Ho just arriving outside the motel. If he'd got there a little bit sooner, maybe he could have stopped this game of Russian roulette.
Yeah, maybe he could have, but he didn't.
Or Korean roulette.
Korean roulette, Russian roulette. I like a good game of Russian roulette. To put it this way, right? See if you've got a decent writer and director, I think it's hard to make a game of this shite.
No, I thought it was a very good game, and I like the dialogue between the two characters. I like the reveal that the salesman had killed his own father, and at this point he's not afraid to, he'll basically put anybody down.
Yep.
And he worked his way up to get this position. He used to work in the games, and I'm assuming that the salesman must be a position that's highly valued among the elites and among the game runners. So
who will replace him now?
It's interesting who will replace him, because he was an important factor. He was the guy that got all the participants to join the game. So that's him gone. Well, we'll see what happens now in episode 2. But yeah, I'll agree. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. I thought it was a very good episode. I know some people are being negative because they want to get straight into the games and whatnot, but you can't just follow the exact same formula of season 1. This is about revenge, isn't it? This is about Gi-hun trying to take them down. The focus is more on Gi-hun trying to bring a stop to the games rather than just playing games. We've already had the introduction. You can't expect them to do the same thing in season 2 as they did season 1. So I think an 8 out of 10 is fair. Sad to see the salesman go, but we'll see what happens next time out. That's it, guys. Till next time, peace.